Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Women don't need to find a voice. They have a voice and they need to be empowered to use it. And people need to be encouraged to listen. Good evening once again. I'm Arunita Praharaj, and it is my pleasure to take you through this inspirational evening. Tonight, on the occasion of International Women's Day, we celebrate the spirit of wonderful women across the world, but especially two formidable, empowered women who stand among us, Mrs. Raji and Mrs. Madhu. Women who have fearlessly used their powerful voices to brave unknown paths. On this special occasion, we stand proud as we host some eminent guests. We have among us His Excellency Mr. Tirth Raj Wagle, Ambassador of Nepal to Bahrain, Her Excellency the First Lady of Nepal to Bahrain, Mr. Soman Baby, Mrs. Meera and Mr. P. Ravi, among many other distinguished guests. On behalf of the organizers, I welcome each and every one of you and thank you for your indispensable presence. Ladies and gentlemen, this event is brought to you by The Lounge, an ingenious platform for like-minded people to come together and share thoughts and experiences about an area they're passionate about. The Lounge is a versatile stage where you may walk in alone or otherwise. Currently, it brilliantly branches out into many facets, such as a book club called Story Quilt, Chords Unplugged, a group of talented local musicians, a photography club, and a platform for women to tell their stories, Women Talk. Tonight, the Lounge presents a lineup of exciting segments, commencing with the book launch of Mrs. Madhu Sarda, the book cover launch of Mrs. Raji Unnikrishnan, followed by the Lounge's first ever Women Talk series featuring Mrs. Madhu, and the drawing of curtains with a prize distribution ceremony for the Colors Photography Contest. So without further ado, let's move on to the first segment. May I please request Mr. Tirth Raj Wagle, the Nepalese ambassador, along with Mrs. Madhu Sarda, an artist, mountaineer, yogi, and author, to launch her third book, Moon Mountain, Trip to Kilimanjaro. May I please request you to come onto the stage. May I also request Mr. Mahdi Al-Jalawi to join us on the stage. May we also request Mrs. Vimla to join us. I request Mr. Jalawi to present Moon Mountain to His Excellency Mr. Tirth Wagle. May I please request Darling Kashwi to present a token of our appreciation to His Excellency Mr. Tirth Wagle. Thank you so much, guests. May I please request His Excellency Mr. Tirth Wagle to please speak a few words.
Namaskar. Thank you so much for this opportunity. What a wonderful evening today, and what a great day today. And my greetings on the occasion of International Women's Day. The world is digital for all and equality, gender equality. And what a momentous occasion. We have just launched a book written by Madhu Sardaji, who has connected Nepal's mountain through India in the kingdom here, islands. So from mountains to islands, she has come up with her beautiful book, and I also appreciate that she has given me the opportunity to write a few words in the book. I find the book very interesting. I have already seen her 2 books. So she has shown the example of how the power, dedication, and continued pursuance of positive thinking can have a positive impact and also foster the bonds of ties in societies. So she has actually contributed in fostering people-to-people contacts, and I truly appreciate her contribution. Thank you so much, Madhuji, for this opportunity and for this wonderful day. I appreciate, I just heard that Raji is also writing a book, and I'm very happy. I don't have more to say today because we have to listen to Madhuji. For today is the first day that you have started the Women Talk. I think something's like TED Talk, is it that way it is designed? So we are very curious to know from you your experience from Everest to Kilimanjaro, I can say at the moment. And thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you so much for all your gracious presence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. May I now request Mrs. Meera Ravi to come onto the stage and speak a few words about the book and perhaps introduce us to the concept.
Good evening and a very happy Women's Day to everybody here. The women and the men in the audience, because no point celebrating Women's Day as women alone. We need to have our men walking alongside us. So welcome to the world of women. Regarding the book, I first came to know Madhu Sharda as an artist, and it was much later that she introduced me to a different facet of herself when she was preparing to go on her Everest adventure, and we were all party to the excitement and the training and the planning that went into that. And later on, we read about it in the book as well, and have been tracking her mountaineering expeditions through her 2 books and now her 3rd book, Moon Mountain. As many of you know, Madhu has set herself an amazing 7-summit goal. She plans to summit 7 mountains in continents across the world, and probably we will look forward to more than 7 books from Madhu, because it's not just about 1 book for each summit. I'm sure Madhu has other things in her mind as well. Ladies and gentlemen, what is exciting about today's program, both Madhu's book and the cover launch of Raji's book of poetry, is that it brings us in touch with the talent, the determination, and the genius of 2 women whom we all admire in Bahrain. Raji we have known as a journalist with hard-hitting news stories, and now she has let that take a back seat and brought the poetess in her to the fore. And Madhu, of course, we can say is someone who writes not just with a pen, but with her legs as well, because she doesn't write a book unless she climbs a mountain. So she lets her muscles do the talking. But seriously speaking, there is so much of discipline, there is so much of willpower that goes into the process of creation. Regardless of whether we do it physically climbing a mountain like Madhu does, or sitting at a desk and waiting for inspiration and translating that inspiration into words on paper the way Raji does, it all requires us to go deep into ourselves and pull out things that we want to share with the world. It requires us to overcome the obstacle of whether we have the courage to do it, you know. If we show this to the world, will the world approve? Because all of us, of course, want approval at some point. So, will the world approve of what I'm writing, of what I'm feeling, of what I'm doing? And it is the overcoming of these obstacles that we are celebrating today. Not just the writing, but the fact that these two ladies went that extra mile to prove that they had a different dimension to themselves. This is an inspiration that all of us can take home on this International Women's Day. It's a great platform, the lounge, where we can talk about these things. And I'm sure we are going to have many more successes spawned at the lounge, where we can talk about, celebrate, and be inspired in our own life's journey. So congratulations, Madhu, and congratulations, Raji, and to everybody behind the lounge. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Meera. Inspiring as always. With this, we move on to the much awaited segment, the book cover launch of Mrs. Raji Unnikrishnan. A fervent and, might I add, iconic journalist by profession, Mrs. Raji Unnikrishnan writes both to make a living and to satiate her inner desires to live up to the prime definition of journalism, to be the voice of the voiceless. Personally, I've always found Mrs. Raji, who I fondly call Raji Auntie, to be a perfect blend of both resilience and calm, strength and love. This is echoed in her powerful journalistic oeuvre, much of which Meera Auntie spoke about, and in her fragrant personal reflections. However, her bias and unwavering love towards poetry can hardly be denied. In her own words, I scribble to vent my heart and I call it poetry. I cry, smile, and laugh while I write or read poetry. I believe it is my genre of literature. And so, in her favorite genre, and from the depths of her heart, Mrs. Raji Unnikrishnan brings us Alwani, a collection of micro-verses penned by the wordsmith herself. Alwani, which translates to life is colorful, is a celebration of the varied colors of life. Of course, the fiery reds, the warm tangerines, the gracious greens, but also the murky blacks, the bleak blues, and the grim grays that one is bound to encounter as a fellow mortal. Alwani is deeply inspired by the charm of Bahrain, its weather, its music, its people, its food alike, and is a joyous return gift from Mrs. Raji to this beautiful nation to mark her 25 glorious years here. Alwani is a limited edition, not for sale print, meant to be distributed to selected people who have contributed to the author's journey. With this, may I please request Mr. Soman Baby to come onto the podium along with Mrs. Raji Unnikrishnan to launch Alwani's cover. May I please request a team member to escort them? Oh, wonderful. Please give a huge round of applause. The audience seems to be a bit tardy. Louder. May I please request Mr. Soman Baby to speak a few words on this momentous occasion?
At the outset, let me congratulate all of you on the International Women's Day. Also, congratulations to Madhu on the launch of her book. So, I'm extremely pleased to attend the back cover launch of the book by Mrs. Raji Unnikrishnan. I have known Mrs. Raji for the last many years, and the relation became stronger when we started working together. I have seen her going from strength to strength and watched her grow into a seasoned and mature journalist with a deep passion for writing. She did so well both in Daily Tribune and then Gulf Daily News. Raji has been one of the finest interviewers that I have seen on visual media. I want to thank Francis Kaidarat for making use of her best talents for the interviews. And Bahrain Kerala Samajam also, she has done a great job. And I remember she interviewed many people, and one interview I remember is with Dr. Shashi Tharoor. After the interview, he was telling me this was one of the best interviews he had so far. So the book is on Alwani, My Colors of a Beautiful Life. The pages of the book through 4 segments, that is memories, dreams, thoughts, and feelings, giving a description of her life in Bahrain. The weather, the people around her, the songs she heard, and many things, and so all of them make her a very colorful person in this country. So I just want to thank you, thanks everybody, and I must mention here that Raji, you are the pride of Bahrain. Especially women who aspire to take up the pen and write. Keep on writing and speaking. God bless you to be stronger in the days to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And now let's hear from the woman of the moment, Mrs. Raji Unnikrishnan. May we please request you to speak a few words on this joyous occasion. Also, congratulations.
Thank you, Arunita. Good evening to one and all. Happy Women's Day, happy Holi. It's such a beautiful combination. It's colors today, isn't it? And I must initially thank His Excellency. Thank you for gracing us, me and Mr. Soman on the stage on this occasion. Well, this moment is beautiful for me. It's very colorful for me because it's a dream come true, a step closer to my dream come true. As Arunita and Soman sir just said, Alwani translates into colors, or my colors. I'm sure Mr. Mehdi would agree with me, my colors. So this is a collection of my thoughts. It was random, but looking back, I felt it reflected different colors, and all colors were beautiful. Even when I was sad, that moment was beautiful. I stand here with great pride and happiness for one reason, because those faces that I see in front of me are all faces close to my heart. really close to my heart. And what more one can ask for? The person I miss here today is my mom. She's back home in India. And, well, something which I really miss today is my Oreo. He's at home. I wish the world becomes a pet-friendly world so that he could have been by my side. Thank you so much for making this evening possible. And I'm so proud to be hosted along with Madhu Sada. She's a woman whom I admire, and she has been an inspiration to many women out there. I take this opportunity to congratulate her as well, and thank you all for making this evening memorable for me. Thank you once again to one and all. Good evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Raji Unnikrishnan. I know you've taken a seat, but I'm going to bother you once again. Could you please come onto the stage and introduce us to our third segment and the first speaker of the Women Talk series, Mrs. Madhu Sarda.
Thank you, Arunita, once again. As Arunita said in the beginning, the lounge is launching a new segment. It's called the Women Talk. We intend to host women to speak on anything, as the launch logo says, on matters that matter. And as Meera rightly put, and as Arunita started off, women do wonders. And I'm sure the men in the room should give a big loud of applause to that. So, as what Meera said, my reflection about Madhu goes back to precisely 1 year, last Women's Day, International Women's Day. She was on board a panel talk of mine at the Bahrain Media City with 3 other women and 1 man, of course, where we were discussing the bold and beautiful nature of womanhood, or the beauty in the boldness. Because, trust me, it was sponsored by Ego Pharmacy. So obviously, you know, it was some beauty products. But then the beautiful conversation, different perspectives. And Madhu spoke so bold about taking up challenges in life. And one thing I clearly remember about what Madhu said is how fulfilling. As Arunita said in the beginning, the lounge is launching a new segment. It's called the Women Talk. We intend to host women to speak on anything, as the launch logo says, on matters that matter. And as Meera rightly put, and as Arunita started off, women do wonders. And I'm sure the men in the room should give a big loud of applause to that. So, as what Meera said, my reflection about Madhu goes back to precisely 1 year, last Women's Day, International Women's Day. She was on board a panel talk of mine at the Bahrain Media City with 3 other women and 1 man, of course, where we were discussing the bold and beautiful nature of womanhood, or the beauty in the boldness. Because, trust me, it was sponsored by Ego Pharmacy. So obviously, you know, it was some beauty products. But then the beautiful conversation, different perspectives. And Madhu spoke so bold about taking up challenges in life. And one thing I clearly remember about what Madhu said is how fulfilling it is when you achieve that challenge, when you overcome that challenge. At that time, I did not know Madhu well. I only knew her by her profile. But later, I understood that she meant it, every word, because she's a mountaineer herself. And her books, the 2 books on Everest Camp and as well as the Mera Peak, speaks loud and clear about the challenges that she, and it's not easy, for sure. Nothing is easy for that matter. So when she said, like, achieving something is fulfilling, achieving those challenges, defeating is fulfilling, satisfying, I'm sure every man and every woman in this room would agree with me. Every day is a challenge, and we achieve it, and that fulfillment. That's what she said. That's where the beauty lies, is what she said. I loved it. And then I read more about Madhu. I read into her, and that's when it surprised me. She was just not a mountaineer. She's an artist, as Meera said. and as Arunita said as well. But artist of a kind. I wasn't aware. I'm sure her close friends would be aware that if you go to Pizza Hut in Zinj, you see her mural painting on the walls. If you go to a Jufair restaurant, you see a wonderful painting inspired by international artists. You see her paintings on the walls of the psychiatric hospital, schools, beaches in the country. So she's an artist of a kind, some bold brushstrokes. So this was amazing as well. And then I see her walking, running, doing yoga, the fitness freak that she is. So I did not have any doubt that Madhu Sada will be the debut speaker at the Launch's Woman Talk episode. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Madhu Sada on the very first episode of Woman Talk from the Launch. Over to you, Madhu.
So, hi everybody. First of all, thank you very much for gracing your oh God, I'm so anxious. Gracing this occasion with your presence. I'm really thankful to His Excellency, Bimla ma'am, and all the dignitaries, distinguished guests, everybody, thank you for making. So I'll go straight to the presentation, the women talk, what I want to talk about. And before that, I would like to congratulate Raji. I would like to thank Meera ma'am and everybody. So let's start. So as everybody, the beautiful women before me introduced me. I'm an artist, I'm a mountaineer, and also I'm a yogi. So let me get deeper into what takes me to the mountain, how I go there, what challenges I face, and how painful it is, but why do I go again and again and again? It's addictive, but it's amazing. So let me begin my story. Because I'm an artist, I'm a creative person, I see beauty everywhere, and I like taking photographs and I like being photographed. But there are two occasions in my life where I regret not being photographed. And you can only imagine I had to be senseless not to be photographed, okay? So one of the occasion, it relates to these baskets here. These are called doko in Nepal. It was a day in Mera Peak when I was climbing on my second big expedition in Nepal, and it was just the second day. We were already gaining a lot of altitude than we were supposed to be because I was in the group of professional climbers. I did not know that. Only when I landed in Nepal, I came to know, okay, they are my teammate. And so not to fall behind them, just trying to keep in the team spirit, I tried to compete with them, I tried to be with them, exhausting myself. We started that day early because it was supposed to be a long day. So by midday, we had already gained a lot of 800, 900 meters, which is extremely high in the sense of mountaineering. And after lunch break, what happened was nothing scares you more than rain and sudden weather change on mountains. So after lunch, the weather changed dramatically. But we had to keep climbing one mountain after another after another. And by evening 3 or 4 p.m., I was extremely exhausted and the thunder would not stop. It was so hard that even after my raincoat, the rain started dripping in my legs and I was shivering, I was wet, and I told the guide, okay, my energy is almost lost now, I think you should ask for help. He said, no ma'am, it's okay, we'll go slow, we'll do this. But by 6 p.m. it was getting dark and he thought, no, the way she is in, it's risky, let's call help. He sent one of the friends to get help, and I had to be carried in this doko in the midnight. Thanks to my yoga, I was I was fit in this. And when we landed to that night's rest camp, there was a doctor in the team, thankfully, who helped me along with the other female porter. They rub oil in my hands, feet, and kept me warm near the stove. There is a wood stove. Electricity is not available in that region of Nepal. So that was one moment I wish somebody else had captured that for me. It was really painful. Okay. So the next story when I regret is, this is again after that second day. I left the team, I stayed behind, I told the travel agent, I will go on my own pace, I am not suitable, I will not compete. So if I continue, it will be on my terms. So somehow I regained my strength, I regained my confidence after rest, after good food, and being on my own pace. That's how important it is not to compete with anyone. You are different and you have to understand, accept that. But after 8 days of hectic climbing, I was at almost 6,100 meters altitude, and that is the highest I have been. But before reaching there, on the previous day, because we had to do some snow climbing, we need snow boots. But my travel agent told me that it's only for one day, only the final day, nobody buys. Why would you? Just rent it from somewhere. I said, okay. I rented it from the last spot. There was only one choice, and it was unfit for me. Still, I did not give up. I kept climbing step after step, step after step. But finally, the pain was so excruciating on my toes that they were going numb, and the pain was reaching all over my head. I'll show the pictures where I was. And so I had to be rescued by the helicopter. I was almost unconscious. So when I was admitted in the hospital, I had all tubes, everything on my hands, oxygen on my face, and my mom, she came running when she heard of that, and one look from her, it was heartwarming. I said, okay, now things will be fine, and people took really good care of me. But that was one moment I wish somebody had captured it, because it shows how painful it is. And my mom, she saw me, she said, okay, how are you? Just in eyes, because I couldn't speak at that time, and I pointed her towards my leg. By then, all the hospital, the doctors, the nurses, they were helping me, but nobody would ask what I wanted. They were doing their own job. So my mom, she started pressing my legs, and what a mom would do. So by that, after, I was fine, but she told me, no, now you're not going anymore. And I did not speak that day. In my heart, I was not ready, but somewhere I had, no, let's see. I didn't say yes, I didn't say no. I said, let's see, Mama. And once you are a mountaineer, once you go to these mountains, there is no looking back. After some time, when I was fit again, all I knew was I had to work harder. I had to do a lot more. So what this picture shows is the day I was rescued from the helicopter. That evening, we had an extreme snowfall. Such a big snowfall that other members of our team, they were stuck for 7 days. Even the helicopters couldn't land. This was the tent I was staying in. This was the tent my guide was staying in. And this is what happened at the altitude of 6,000 meters in Nepal. It was one of the biggest snowstorm of that season. And what I understood later, because when I was going from the helicopter to Kathmandu after being rescued, I really don't cry a lot, but that day I couldn't stop my tears, because giving up is more difficult than carrying on. It was really difficult. I was heartbroken, but in my heart I knew God has better plan for me. God always has better plans. Maybe I don't understand it now, but somehow it will show up. So when I got the news that this is happening, these are the pictures of my tent where I stayed, and I was rescued in the morning. This happened in the evening and for 7 days. So what would happen then? I was thankful, and this only made me think that, thank God. So why do people go to the mountains? When it is so painful, when it is so risky, and I am missing my husband today. He is very supportive. He is always there in all of my events. He is traveling abroad, so he couldn't be here, and my elder daughter who recently went to university. So he always says, it's okay, you are going, it's all good, but safety first. Only remember 2 words of mine, safety first. You need to come back. There is life, you can always go back, you can always do things. So this is one of the scenes from Kilimanjaro where the sunlight is reflecting on my face. On one side there was a beautiful sunset. On one side, there was a beautiful sunset in the west, all orange, crimson, and on the other side, the moon was rising. Pink moon, huge pink moon. It was so beautiful, and I was so much deep in the moment. That was the moment I decided I'm going to name this book, Moon Mountain, and that's how it got its name. And it was, the moon can be seen there, if you can make it out in the right corner. So slowly it came over the mountain of Kilimanjaro. It is the only tallest standing free mountain in the world. So when I saw that, I was so happy, I was so thankful. I came here, I did this. And this was what I was talking in nature, what happens in nature, how beautiful the sceneries are, the moons, the mountains, the stars and everything. But this is another experience which is very enriching. I met the kids, I met the Maasai tribe. I made a point to visit them in Africa, to see their habitat, to see their culture, to see their colorful dresses and dances. So when I went there, on the way, we bought corn. When you smell the waft of corn, freshly roasted corn, I couldn't control myself. I told, okay, let's stop and have some. So what happened was, after buying those corn and we started eating, it was too hard to chew, and we kept those corn just by the side of the car. And when we reached this Maasai place, the chief came to greet us. He said, hello, welcome, and he was talking to our guide in Swahili. And when he opened the back door to greet us, he could smell that corn. And in his language, he asked the guide, what can I smell that? Can you give it to me? I wanted to stop him that it's not edible. But by then, the guide knew better than me. He handed over those half-eaten corns to the chief. What I saw in the next moment was, the chief was distributing the kernels of corn to all these kids. There were more than 20-30 kids, and they were waiting in their turns. There was no pushing. They were so happy just to eat that corn. And so many fell in the ground, but it was okay for them. It was like gold, you know, even if it falls in the ground, it doesn't lose its value. They were eating that corn, and all of them heartily, happily living, laughing and enjoying that moment and sharing with their friends. So what we see kids here, what I see generally, not all of them, but once the new iPhone is launched, the kid wants that. Oh, mama, my friend has that. Once a new watch comes, once a new game box comes, they are happy for few days, few moments, but then again the dissatisfaction comes in. But here the scene was different. They were happy just in these robes, just playing around with that corn. The amount of satisfaction. When I go to Nepal, I carry some color pencils or some chocolates, and that one thing makes the days of those kids. When I meet them, I give them, they are so happy and thankful and content. So this is one thing which appeals me to go to interiors where the technology hasn't reached much. We are also off the mobiles and everything, and it's a nice experience. So, and then there are these monasteries in Nepal which are situated high up in the mountain, and so many other experiences which enrich you. The Buddhist culture in Nepal, the African culture in Africa. So my traveling, it not only shows me landscapes, it shows me people, shows me culture, it shows me tradition, and that I really look forward to, because that in some way affects my art. I get new ideas, I get newfound colors that our mind can absorb. So I love going for that region, and when you reach the destination, it's so exhausting. You are so tired, you are so drained that you don't want to leave the spot where you are sitting and sip cups of tea after tea. But when you wake up the next morning, you are greeted with these views, the clouds, and this is the time to meditate. I wake up, first of all, in the group. I sit out with my cup of tea, because I am also the first one to sleep. I am very tired by the end of the day, so I need my rest. But when I am with myself in these mornings, it's unparalleled. And this is one of the examples of my days when I first went to Mount Everest base camp. Just one of the days I logged in the steps. There were 28,553 steps. The elevation was 84 floors. And we had done 16.5 kilometers of hike that day. 84 floor, I think it's a lot. And this is just one day. Because I was excited at that time, I kept a log. After that, I stopped keeping the log. And we do this day after day after day whenever we are on the expedition, for 8 days, for 10 days. So this is how much we have to work. So, and then comes, this is the sunrise that I saw from the Mount Kilimanjaro on my final summit day. This summit day, it starts in midnight. We do the summit push always in midnight because the nature is calmer, and so that night was very, very difficult, the longest night of my life. I hadn't waited for sunrise so much, because the moment I started my expedition for that night, it was 12 in the midnight. It was minus 10 degree already. Okay, there was sheets of ice and snow already on my tent, but we had already prepared our 5 to 6 layers of clothing and our pants, double socks, double mittens and boots and everything, and we started walking. After 1 hour of walking that day, I could not sleep good and I started feeling nauseous. I was dizzy and I started shivering, and there was a guide, there was a porter with me. I just held his hand because this journey from Camp Barafu to Camp Kosovo, it's very, very steep, the first few hours. So I held his hand for some time and I walked for 15 minutes, and then my guide asked me, he took hold of me, he said, "Ma'am, is this how we are going to do the summit? Then it's better if you think again." But the wind was so chill and the night was so dark and the pressure was so high, the air was blowing. I didn't know what to do. So I tried to get hold of myself and I went back in my mind, I have come so far. I have done more than 1,000 meters. I have flew more than 24 hours to come here, and money is secondary, but it means a lot when you go on expeditions. So what do I want to do? If I want to do this, if I want to make through this night, I'll have to buckle up. I'll have to make up my mind. And then, yes, it was difficult, but I kept climbing step after step after step. Thank God it was night and I couldn't see the whole mountain. When in the sunrise I saw from where I had come, I think it would have been difficult, and where I needed to go. So how we climb mountains, we don't see how many mountains we are climbing in a day, how many hills we are climbing. We see one step at a time, one bend at a time, one mountain at a time. So in Swahili they say, slowly, slowly. Oh, I thought this is a mic. How engrossed I am. Sorry. So all I could think was one step at a time, one bend at a time, and just kept going. So when I reached almost towards the dawn, just before the dawn, at around 3 to 4 a.m. in the morning, the temperature went to almost minus 20 degree or below, I don't know. It was hitting really, really hard. That was the time I saw most of the people giving up. It was so heartbreaking. I knew what it is like, and somebody was vomiting here, somebody's face was ash white, and somebody was draining. They were having acute mountain sickness, and it goes to your lung where you can't breathe. Anyway, breathing is so tough, but I saw people falling like flies. Trust me, there were people on the shoulders of the guide who wanted to go back, and it was very scary. That was the moment for either you make it or you break it. When I came back from Mira Peak, unsuccessful, one lady and one other person, they said me, "Oh, you were almost there, right? You couldn't make it, right?" They couldn't see the 6,100 meters that I climbed. They would focus on 400 meters. So those voices start coming back to you. "Oh, you did not do it." I said, "It's okay, it's okay. Safety first. If they decide to go back, I know how heartbreaking it is, but now I have to give more. I have to give more than I have." So I again dig into my reserves, and somehow I did step after step, bend after bend. After the sunrise, I was one of the slowest. I am always one of the slowest, but I am steady. I am happy, so I don't compete. I learned that lesson hard way. So I did it. I reached Kilimanjaro after sunrise, and I was so happy and thankful I did not give up. Now, this picture, it is from Mount Everest Base Camp. Generally, people go to Mount Everest Base Camp, which is at the height of 5,350 meters, but we went ahead of that. We went quite ahead of that, another 300-400 meters. So, why? Because I was in the team of Chef Vineet Bhatia of Rasoi fame, Michelin star chef. He had a plan to make a record of making 5-course fine dine meal at the highest altitude in the world. So we went above that and we stayed night in the tent above the base camp. And there, when I reached the base camp, okay, I knew in my mind I had to reach this place, and I was happy and I was somehow thankful. Okay, we did it. But before I could celebrate, there was another snowstorm coming, and it started snowing, and I asked everybody, "Where is the camp? I can't see the camp anywhere." And I asked 1 person, 2 person, but people were hurrying to go back because it is dangerous to stay at that altitude for longer. Then I found 2 porters from our company who were coming back from someone else. And I asked them, where is the camp? And they pointed there. And that was the end of it. I was so mad because I did not know how far it would be. It was really, really far. And in snowstorm, I did not have snow boots because I did not know we will be facing snow. However, there was no other choice because I could not go back, and somehow the snow was so hard that I slid 2 or 3 times. In one instance, there is a guy called Irshad, Chef Irshad. He held my bag when I was slipping, and just there was a stream running by, and somehow he held it, and I was saved and I survived. So that night after resting, the whole night it snowed. Okay, it snowed, and when I woke up, 360 degree, it was winter wonderland. I could hardly see, just the specks of yellow of the whole tent that was covered by snow all around. But thank God, God blessed us. The other 2 days was sunrise, and we moved around, and we were acclimatized, and we were happy, and we did our dining at the highest peak. Thank you. What I got as reward was a seat at this table. The seat where Chef Vineet is serving, there you can see the other 3 people. How did they come? They were not with us. I was the only lady in the team of 10 men. So they came by helicopter. They landed there, and how long could they stay? Just half an hour maximum with their oxygen tanks. The lady there, she was seeing me. I was chirping all around because it has already been 2 days and I was in full energy and so happy and excited and everything. She kept staring at me for quite some time. Finally, she asked, where is your oxygen? I said, no, I don't need. I am acclimatized. What do you mean? I said, I walked for 10 and 12 days for 10 hours every day to reach here. You mean through these jungles? The one which we saw by the helicopter while coming here? I said, yes, all those jungles I walked. Who was with you? I said, all these people you see here. No other lady? I said, no. How did you manage? I said, they were very nice men. So how important it is to have a balance in society. When men are supportive, it feels really good when they support, and I was just one of them. No pampering, nothing. Only one thing, Chef Vineet would ask me to taste whatever he would make. Madhu, tum taste karo, tum hamari lucky charm ho. I hope you will like it. So it was so heartwarming. A person of that stature, he was amazing. All the people were amazing. This is the place where it was snowing so hard that when I reached Everest Base Camp, and then I had to move forward. I had snow on my eyelashes and my nose, and it's disgusting, I think, but whatever. This is how I felt after reaching there, and then I continued my journey for next 2 and 3 days. Okay, so this is a scene. I'm sorry, it will be only 5 or 10 minutes more. So we had to land in Lukla from Kathmandu to go to Mount Everest Base Camp. But the weather is so erratic. Lukla is one of the most dangerous airports in the world, if you have seen Nat Geo, BBC. So this is before 5 minutes we came to know that the weather had changed in Lukla and the flight cannot land. And we had to make an emergency landing in a place called Faflu, where the airstrip was not even long as this room, the length of this room. We landed there. And initially there were so many helicopters coming, and I was so fascinated, like a Bond's movie. Oh wow, helicopter, and I was clicking. But after 2 hours of wait, that was irritating. And I had this scarf because all our luggage was in another plane. We didn't have anything even to cover our mouth, and all the sand was blowing in the face. So this scarf of mine, I still carry a piece of it with me as a reminder. So I shared this scarf with all my team members. I told it was a long scarf, and they used it as the mask. So after that, I told each and every one of you, you owe me something for this day's thing that I shared. And I earned a lavish dinner at Rasoi by Vineet. And when I went to Dubai, I met Chef Irshad. So how the small things can be handy. How even if we are prepared a lot, we are faced with unexpected circumstances. So, and that is how we tackle it, we do our best and move forward. And okay, this is one of the flight we were supposed to go, and after we sat on the flight, there were 2 technicians coming and repairing the plane. They asked us to get down. We need to repair. You need to board another plane. Okay. All of them were going. I went. But in my heart, I was scared. Anyways, after half an hour, they said, okay, you can board the same plane. It's repaired. I said, what? But yeah, we went ahead with the team spirit. And then we saw these places. Mount Everest it is, which is my dream. Inshallah, someday. Thank you. And this is a picture from Mira Peak. These are the Himalayas of Nepal, how beautiful it is. But it takes a lot to reach there. But I'm so happy. This is my calling. I found my true calling. And this is the place. It's less visible to me. I hope you can see the snow all around that we went to. Now, I'm coming towards my concluding part. This is my dream. My dream project. It's called 7 Summits Sojourn. So when I saw the first glimpse of Everest, I just had a thought, will I be able to summit it someday? Today I'm only going to the base camp. But then I brushed it off because at that time my focus was something else. But after coming back, this thought did not leave me. And it kept me awake at night like it was a burning desire or something. So I thought, okay, let's try. So I started with Kilimanjaro. I did in June of last year. And after this, I had, because it is not only physically tough, as I told, it's financially tough, and I had already burnt all my savings, whatever I had. So I promised myself, because we had other priorities, I'll stop it for the time being. We will see how the journey goes. But when you have a will, you have a way. God, He has better plans for me, bigger. I hope so. I pray so. And I met His Excellency Sheikh Rashid Al Khalifa in one art exhibition where he bought my paintings, and I presented him my book, and he was pretty impressed. He said, you are doing this? I said, yes, sir. Oh, no, you should not do. You should be careful. But I said, I want to. Oh, really? Then, inshallah, you should get some, or something. We spoke about it, and I thought he would forget. But thankfully, he remembered. I met him again, and now he is supporting me on my next journey to Australia, which I'm going in April next month. I'll be climbing Mount Kosciuszko there, and after that, I hope more doors will open, and one mountain at a time, like I said, so we will see what happens. But I'm definitely excited for this dream. I want to plant the flag of Bahrain and the flag of Nepal. For us, thank you. For us, where I am born and brought up, we are supposed to be devoted, we are supposed to be extremely loyal to two places in your life. One is motherland, which I love with all my heart, of course, my homeland Nepal. I'm so proud. Everybody knows that. And the second is the soil that made you. The place where you are working, which has given you so much, you are supposed to give back to that. So that place is Bahrain. Bahrain has welcomed me with open arms since last 8 years, and I'm so thankful. So I would love to raise Bahraini flag and Nepalese flag. And why would I do that? I have a mission. This is my mission for 7 summits. I would like to explore for myself, see new cultures, places, and everything. I would like to educate people. Whoever is interested in knowing, I would like to tell them what it is like to be there, why we need to leave the comforts of our sofa. It is uncomfortable when we go out there. But if you have a dream, if you have a plan, if you have a thought, go ahead. Please, don't let your second thoughts get you back. If you want to do a startup, go ahead, act. Because it's being in your comfort zone, you will not get. You will have to be passionate, you will have to work hard. Elevate the society, the children. I want, especially children who are the future of our generation, I want to tell them that what is out there, how we can survive on minimalistic things, and why we should do that. So it's extremely interesting when children come to hear about my journey. And when they read my books and send me a review, that is most heart-touching of all. And then empowering. What a more beautiful day than to spread this message of empowerment, women empowerment. And there are so many examples here, like so many examples. And I look up to all of them. I have so much to learn from each one of you, and I'm thankful to each one of you. But ultimately, there is a higher mission after this all. I would like to give back to the society. Where there are underprivileged children, I want to contribute to that. And where there are other type of problems, like I'm very active with Art for Autism. I would like to do more work with that. I've been active with them since last 6 years. Mr. Mahadi knows we work all the time. And flag of Bahrain, flag of Nepal. At the highest altitude I have been, almost 20,000 meters above the sea level. At Bahrain we are 100 to 200 meters above the sea level, so this is 6,000 meters plus. That is it. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much. Thank you, Raji, for this platform. It means a lot. And thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Mountains are calling and I must go, says John Muir, the mountaineer. I think we really need to give a bigger round of applause to this stunning woman power out there. Those stories were beautiful. Those pictures were amazing, Madhu. Thank you for taking us through these mountains. I'm sure I will not make it. I don't know how many of you all are inspired. These are beautiful scenes. I'm supposed to conclude this talk, and I will just capture a few things which I loved about Madhu's speaking. I love the way you took us through the pictures with a lesson from each. The majestic natural wonders the mountains are. I really felt I was there. I could see the peaks, I could feel the snow, and also I could feel the excruciating pain and the mom's consolation. And every time you said, when people said not again, you wanted to think again. That's amazing. One thing which we all should never quit. There is always an opportunity out there, and we can overcome, or we shall overcome. Another thing is, it's all about gathering yourself. You fall down many a time. It's all about gathering yourself. And men and women out there, it's all about adjusting each other's crowns. I heard her telling, how everybody was so supportive. We need to be supportive to each other. When we see someone climbing a mountain, let's applaud them, let's uphold them in whichever way we can. And it applies to each one of us in this beautiful society. So the balance is struck. Another thing is, yes, one step at a time. I love that. In the religion that I believe in, there is a beautiful hymn called "One Day at a Time, Jesus." So we always pray that. It's one day. We plan for tomorrow. We plan for next 5 years down the lane, what's happening, what will. We are saving. But I think the pandemic taught us the uncertainty, how bad and blue it can be. So it's one step at a time, and let's take one step at a time. Thank you, Madhu, for reminding that again. And small things can be handy in these unexpected things. Let's be ready. Let's be prepared. It's her true calling. We heard that. We could see the sparkle in her eyes. Though it was a little dark, I was really listening to it, and so was Arunita, right? We could see that, and some lovely reflections. It is her heart's calling. So I think it applies to all of us. The callings are different. It's just that the callings are different. All the very best to you, Madhu, on your mission and your dream, and those reasons and causes that you listed out there. On behalf of Team Lounge, we have a small memento for you, and I would call upon Kashvi to bring in that wonderful plant. And may I request Mr. P.V. Radhakrishna Pillai to please hand over that memento to her, please, on behalf of us. Let's put our hands together once again for Madhu Sada.
I hope this spirit lasts more than this evening, and you continue to pursue the dreams that you've been inspired to pursue by Mrs. Madhu. And thank you, Mrs. Raji, for your beautiful concluding remarks. You summed it up so beautifully. And now for the last segment, may I please request our team members to prepare for the prize distribution of the Colors Photography Contest. May I please request the judges of the contest, Mr. Premjeet Narayanan. Yes, my apologies. May I please request Sumetha, who is the daughter to Mrs. Madhu, to please speak a few words for her mum.
Hello, my name is Sumedha. My friends call me Sumi, and I want to thank everyone that is here. I want to thank you all for your kindness. I want to thank you all for your support. There are a lot of amazing and accomplished people here. People that I know my mom is so grateful to be the first people to see her newest book. A book that is filled with hardships and smiles, a book of a daring adventure in a beautiful continent, a book that describes who she is in words. but I don't think any amount of words could sum up Mama's beautiful soul. I've known her for a long time. I've known her since my birth, you could say. She is one of the most inspiring and uplifting people I've had the honor of knowing. I've seen her be there for my sister and I, rush to her friends the second they fall sick, to give unconditional love to every person she meets. She is someone that people remember. She is a legacy that the generations of our family will remember. She is a role model for women in this beautiful, beautiful country. Again, I want to thank all of you for being here. But I also want to thank my mama for being a figure young girls can look up to. To her, and all the inspiring women in this room, especially Miss Raji Unnikrishnan, happy International Women's Day.
Thank you, Sumedha. That was very heartfelt, very thoughtful. And yes, so now we can move on to the fourth and last segment of the evening. May I please request the team to prepare for the Colors Photography Contest winners announcement. May I please request Mr. Premjit Narayanan, Mrs. Shikha Verma, Mr. Arun Kumar Prahraj, and Mr. Francis Kaitraj to come onto the stage and present the winners with their awards. So Mr. Premjit Narayanan and Mrs. Shikha Verma were actually judges of the contest. The first prize has been bagged by Mr. Srinivas S. May we please have him on the stage? May I request Mr. Premjit to kindly present the award to the winner. Please give him a huge round of applause. The second prize has been bagged by Mr. Sunish PN. May we please have him on the stage? May I request Mrs. Shikha to kindly present the award to the winner? Please give them a huge round of applause. The third prize has been bagged by Mr. Ranjit CP. May we please have him on the stage? May I request Mr. Arun Kumar Prahraj to kindly present the award to the winner? Now there was a popular choice award which has been bagged by Mr. Himanshu Hasnani. Unfortunately, he couldn't be present here today, so may we please request his friend to join us on the stage on his behalf. May I please request Mr. Kaitraj to present the award to, well, his friend on behalf of Mr. Himanshu Hasnani. Thank you, everyone. May I please request you all to be seated? So I hope all of you, men and women included, have found this evening to be the right impetus to chase after your dreams and build your path, no matter how daunting it may seem at first. As we come to a close, we would like to thank our guests of honor, His Excellency Mr. Tirth Raj Wagle, and the First Lady of Nepal to Bahrain, and all our distinguished guests for their invaluable time and support. Thank you for being here. There are a few people without whom this event would not have been complete. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Bahrain Media City with a special mention for Mr. Francis Kaitraj, Chairman of Bahrain Media City, for their extensive media support. We thank Mrs. Jisha K for her irreplaceable IT support, without which we couldn't have driven this program to success. We thank our darling Kashvi for her presence and support in all the little and big ways. We thank our diligent team of photographers and videographers tonight who helped us capture the precious moments. Thank you, Ramee Grand Management and staff, for your impeccable arrangements. A big thank you to the wonderful team and the ideators of the lounge, Mrs. Raji Unnikrishnan, Mr. Ritin Raj, Mrs. Lijo Jose, Ms. Anupama Binu, and Mrs. Jisha K for bringing this incredible and one-of-a-kind evening to us. Last but not the least, we thank the brilliant women at the forefront of this event who set out the most wonderful way to celebrate International Women's Day on this island. Mrs. Raji and Mrs. Madhu, may there be myriad more reasons to celebrate you. Thank you for inspiring us. With this, it's me, Arunita, signing off. I thank you all for bearing with me, and I apologize for any errors that I may have made. Good night and God bless. Okay.
Hala is here. Hala. Oh, Hala is here. Hala. Oh, Hala is here.